That's great because a lot of people a lot of people are not role playing. Number
Mhm.
one, and number two, having that accountability partner on the back end to be able to have someone to hold you accountable to something.
So it's not letting the other off the hook, but it's sometimes maybe trying to help out with not just the scripts, but again, accountability. So it works for us. We're terrible at the beginning. We would stumble through it because we didn't have it internalized, but you internalize the script. You're able to not be stumped. You're able to respond and listen instead of like focusing on the words on the script because you know it.
What's going on, everybody? It's me, it's Aaron Wittenstein, and I'd like to welcome you to Vulcan7 Roadmap. This is where we teach you how to take an additional 2, 3, 4, 563 million point 17 listings a week. All right. And for all the way from Palm Beach, we have her all the way from Palm Beach Gardens, Kelly Rossow. Kelly, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent, Aaron. Thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. So, Kelly here, we were chatting it up here a little bit before. She's been doing this for like a long time. Okay. Put it this way, I think I had hair back when she started making phone calls. Okay. How long have you been making phone calls for?
At least 10 or 15 years.
Okay. If you had to guess, it's closer to 10 or closer to 15. What do you think?
Using Vulcan at least 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
That's a whole decade of making phone calls right there, right?
it is.
So, all right. So I know a lot of agents are new. A lot of people that watch this in general are newer. They've called for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year or two. How do you possibly maintain? I mean, are you like a everyday caller, or like is I how does that work?
I am. First of all, I time block my calendar. I'm old school, so I have, a little paper calendar. Um, I go through and I decide, okay, so on Monday I'm going to go to Aaron's class at 1. On Tuesday and Thursday I go to Jim's class at 2. And even if you're just listening and you get one or two little pieces or nuggets from those, it kind of keeps you going. It gives you different ideas. But I'm time blocked so that my scripts partner, I call her around 7:30. So it's not exactly 7:30 every day. It just depends. We generally don't skip. I do have one scripts partner. I know sometimes people will say have 4 or 5. I tried that. It didn't work well for me, so I stuck with one. And she's pretty honest with me. If we sound snippy or if we sound tired, we will tell the other, and we screw up in the morning and we laugh about it. During the day, we will actually I have an iPad that's next to my regular computer where I dial, and I'll just text her and say, okay, this is what I just got. What could I have said differently? And she'll do the same. Or if I'm at like 4, I'll just say, hey, here's my number. And then she'll text me back where she is. So if she's at 12 and I'm at 4, I keep dialing, and vice versa. So it's an accountability partner along with
Yeah.
a scripts partner. So I know in the morning I don't get to sleep in. I'm on the phone, and I've got 4 kids. So they're seeing what I do and they know, okay, mom is working. Just because they don't see me outside the house doesn't mean that I'm
Right.
not working. And I make them respect that. Like if they're going to walk through my area, you're walking through my office. So, and then I dial until either I hit my number or I have the right amount of appointments, or some days you're just done and you have hit your number, or maybe not a lot of people answered, but you just keep going and you don't get tied to the outcome. I don't take it personally. My first call today, they were not real kind. You get to decide who you're going to work with. So if they're going to double F bomb me, then I cross them off the list and I put them in a little folder that says terrorist, and I just don't call them back because it sometimes they'll maybe have a bad day, and then sometimes that's really them telling you who they are. And so when they do that, you have to believe them. There are other people to work with. There are plenty, so I don't get worried about that.
Okay, I have so many questions right now for you. Okay, like you just threw like a bunch of stuff at me in a good way. In a good way. All right, number one. So when people role play in the morning, I personally think they all do it wrong. Okay, I'm not going to
Mhm.
tell you why. I'm not. What I'm. You do it regularly, so can you
Mhm.
just share how a proper role play should? We wouldn't have to. We can role play if you want, but like, how should a proper, what's the word, like setup for a role play go when you're doing it with
Okay,
somebody?
so we do greet each other in the morning. I know some people will get on the phone and then they'll just jump into it. 7:30 is early for me, and so we ease into it. I've got my scripts in plastic. I've got expireds on one side. I have it for sale by owner on the other side. Lately we've been sometimes taking your scripts that you have created and
Mhm.
we've heard in your 2 o'clock class on Monday, and we've implemented. And then it's funny because we go, wow, that's a lot shorter than the other one, and it got to the point really quickly and you just got the appointment. So we don't always try and stump each other, but we're using Mike Ferry. I don't know, sometimes she has a different script for FISBO,
Okay.
and it sounds very conversational. So we just, she'll run through expired, I run through expired. We give feedback after one does it, and then we'll jump to for sale by owner. And that's it. We get off the phone. I'll ask, or she'll ask, like, what do you have going on today? How much are you going to do? So this year we've kind of implemented, I have to hit my number, and we know what the other's number is. And so if at this time of day I'm not hearing her or seeing her come through my text, like, hey, I think her number's like 15. I didn't hit 15. I'm like, well, the next morning I'm going to ask her what happened. And it may be I got distracted, I had too many showings, I had an office meeting. So it's not letting the other off the hook, but it's sometimes maybe trying to help out with not just the scripts, but again, accountability. So it works for us.
No, that's great because I don't think I know. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of people are not role playing. Number
Mhm.
one, and number two, having that accountability partner on the back end to be able to have someone to hold you accountable to something. So it sounds like that relationship kind of morphed into that over time. Is that right?
It did. And I can tell you, probably in the past, I think we've been doing this for about a year,
Hmm.
and we're terrible at the beginning. We would stumble through it because we didn't have it internalized. After you do it every single day, and we rarely skip. Like, she might have been sick one day and skipped, and that's usually the only time that one of us will skip, is if we're like sick. And we've role played when we're like barely talking because our voice is lost, that kind of thing. But you internalize the script. You're able to not be stumped. You're able to respond and listen instead of like focusing on the words on the script because you know it. And then sometimes the way she says things or the way I say things, I notice it gets morphed into the other script, and it works because maybe the way you're saying something is not being received well with somebody at the other end of the phone. So it helps you become more conversational, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's great. I mean, it's just repetition, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like the more you do something, it's the better you become. And what I love about it is, and I don't care if you're working with one person or five people, it's that you don't want to practice on your clients, right?
100%.
You
Hmm.
want to practice somebody else. So all right, so then I got to ask then. So what's your accountability numbers for the day? What's Kelly's goal for the day? Or I shouldn't say goal, what
Okay.
minimum standard, if you will.
21. So I know if I start just a little bit after 8 in the morning, usually by 9, I should be at 5 ish
Yeah.
on a bad day. If I start late, I'm behind. So between 8 and 9, I should be able to get like 3 rounds in if I'm dialing somewhere between 10 and 15 in each round. I just keep track on a piece of paper. I kind of write it as a fraction, like here's 2 over 20 minutes. And I don't so much worry about the time part of that or how many dials I do. It is the amount of people that I talk to. So, not every conversation is perfect. I stopped counting leads. I was doing that for a little bit last year, and then putting them in a folder and following up, and then it's like false hope is what it felt like. So I've stopped doing that so much, as just focusing on, okay, so I need to have at least one appointment per this many days. So even if you go on the appointment and you decide not to take it, or maybe it was not a good property, you have done the work. And eventually, when you do enough of that, you get the outcome that you want.
So you said 21 contacts, so I'm going to venture to guess the intention is 3 hour shift, 7 contacts an hour, right? And
That's about average. I think last week it was somewhere between like 7 and 10 I could get in an hour.
okay.
If I'm not messing around and like, taking breaks, that kind of thing. It helped when we did the Monday just prospecting
Oh,
day.
yeah, that was
That
fun.
was phenomenal. I just tried to keep up with you. So I went beyond my number that day. And then if I have a day that I know I didn't hit my number, guess what? Now I've got to add more the next day or by the end of the week. So Vulcan has the little tool that you can go and you can put your numbers in. I don't, again, pay too much attention to the amount of time because I know I'm spending a lot of time on the dialer, and
Yeah.
that's okay because that is helping me to get to where I need to be. Last Monday when we did the prospecting day, I think it was at like 200 and something dials. So I would make myself crazy if I looked at how many dials it was versus, I hit like 24 contacts.
It's a good day.
So yeah, that was decent, and that when you try and just be consistent with that, your results come a little faster. So that helps.
Now, do you know enough into your numbers as to how many contacts you typically get per an appointment?
Yeah, I
Are you,
knew you were going to ask me that, and I should have figured that out.
if,
Some days, okay, so I could go through 24 and not get an appointment. And the next day, the first person who answers, then I have an
of course,
appointment.
of course.
So I think that day specifically, I was on dial three or conversation three.
Yeah,
And then that one actually came through my phone while I was dialing, and it was sphere of influence. I probably shouldn't count that. Um, but the previous month, I think I went on one appointment per week. You know what? Just because we go on appointments doesn't mean that we love all of them and we take any of them.
of course.
So I'm probably going to have to go and change my numbers as far as like, okay, how many appointments I go on to how many that I actually choose to take.
See, that's a good statement right there. How many do I choose to take?
Mhm.
Because especially when we're dealing with expireds and for sale by owners, there's many reasons the expireds number one did not sell, and there's many reasons that for sale by owners are for sale by owners, right? So, like,
Yeah.
what would be a reason that you would choose to not take a listing?
Um, there was one I can think of that I went on and I walked into the courtyard of it. It was a townhome, and I didn't even have to go in. And I thought, holy cow, these people are hoarders. So it was listed, and the other agent prior to didn't have the decency to say, we need to present ourselves in the best possible light. So I know in my market, people expect me to have, properties that are clean and look like model homes. And not every home can look like a model home, but we as agents need to be really upfront with our sellers and let them know here's what it's going to take to get top dollar for your property.
Right.
There are investors who will go and make offers on things if they don't choose to do repairs, but no agent wants to go into a dirty property. The other thing that I saw, especially last month, was when you start to really drill down, they don't need to sell. They aren't a motivated seller. There's a little bit of that out in this market. So I think we have to ask really deep questions so that we don't waste our time and we can keep dialing and find people who are actually motivated and do need to move.
Now, when you say like, can you give me a couple? When you say deep questions, I'm going to ask on that one. Like, what questions would you consider? We're talking about motivation-based questions, right? And it's the who, the what, the where, and the why. Okay.
Right.
And what are some of your go-tos to figure out, like, all right, do I have a viable seller?
Right. Today I had one on the phone and I asked him because they sometimes will contradict themselves. So you really truly have to listen. So he said, well, I don't really need to sell. And so then I asked him, well, you know what, while you were on the market, you obviously had a place that you were thinking of moving to. So what did that look like? Um, and they said, well, I don't really need to be in this area because I may homeschool my kids now. And he didn't give me a straight answer. Um, but I'm trying to figure out, like, are you thinking of moving into a specific neighborhood, a specific town? You have to transfer out of town,
Right.
or are you just trying this out? Because if they're just trying it out, we're just sometimes wasting our marketing dollars and our time. And when I'm wasting my time, I'm not being able to feed my kids. And so that's an important piece of this is, as agents, we have to make money. This is what we do.
That was very, very true, and it's digging in because I mean, it's getting the right proper listings that are going to
Mhm.
sell. Because if you don't
Exactly.
have a motivated seller, you may as well not have a seller at all, right?
Right.
And and just going in properly pre-qualifying, I think is super important with that. And just getting those right people. And then it was funny. I want to kick back something else you said is you said that you got a listing and an SOI called, right?
Hmm.
That's what I like to call prospecting karma. All right. Because it's called prospect. It's because it's like, you put in hours after hours after hours, nothing pops out of it, but then suddenly something comes somewhere else. It doesn't matter where the business comes from. And the thing is with that particular one, that in my opinion, that should be counted as a contact and an appointment
Hmm.
for the day,
I
right?
did.
Okay, you better have done that. You better have done that. You better have done that. So you're working and you have four kids that are there as well, because I know a lot of
I
people are
do.
working from home nowadays.
I do. One is supposed to technically be here. The other two moved back. I have one that just graduated from Rollins in Winter Park and was accepted into the number one veterinary school in the world. So I
Congratulations.
am prospecting to make dollars to pay for her to go to the UK. So it's a pretty big thing. And so I have a big why. I think as an agent, you have to know what your why is, and it needs to be big.
Yeah.
So yeah, mine got bigger here recently.
Well, congratulations. That's amazing. That's absolutely awesome. All right, so I'm curious, since you're role playing so much,
Mhm.
would you do me the honor of doing a role play with me? Is that something you'd be
Absolutely.
open to? All right, sweet.
Yeah.
What do you, dealer's choice, expired, physical, whatever you want to do. I'll be moderate to severely difficult.
Okay, so I'm going to do expired. You want to be the seller?
Sure.
Okay, go easy on me.
Moderate. I'll be moderate. I'll be moderate. I'll be moderate.
Okay, ring ring.
Hello.
Good morning. I'm looking for Aaron.
This is Masters calling.
Hi, Aaron. This is Kelly. I'm a local agent, and I'm sure you figured out by now that your home has come up as being off the market. So
Hmm.
I was calling to see when do you plan to interview the right agent for the job of selling your home?
I got to tell you, I think we're just going to relist with the same agent that had the house before. I mean, they had it for a while, but I'm pretty committed to them right now.
Okay, I do respect the loyalty, but Aaron, if you sold this home, where did you plan to go next?
We were going to go to San Jose, California.
California, that's exciting. And what was your time frame of needing to be there?
We're thinking about getting there sometime within the next 3 months. I want to say, give or take. But like I said, I think we're committed to Sally Mae. Relist with her. But if it doesn't work out, I've got your number. I can call you back.
Well, Aaron, I can truly appreciate that. So Sally Mae had you on the market for 6 months. So tell me, what do you think stopped the home from selling during that time?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't think we did enough open houses. I think like 13 or 15 more open houses would have gotten the job done.
Okay, so sounds like you needed more activity through seeing her more doing open houses. So how did you happen to pick her when you listed initially?
Oh, she was referred to me by my cousin
A,
Stan.
a referral, that's great. And what did she do that you liked best?
Oh, she's just such a nice person.
Nice person. That's a great start. So what do you feel she should have done other than more open houses?
Just more open houses, because the open houses sell property. So,
Okay. And what will you expect from the next agent that you choose, Aaron?
well, I mean, like I said, she's coming over in 2 days to sit down and have a conversation with us. So,
Well, Aaron, I would love to be able to give you a second opinion, really give you a good, solid plan. I would love to meet with you face to face. When would be best for you, today at 5 or tomorrow at noon?
I mean, what would you do differently that she wouldn't do?
That's a really great question. I would love to have that conversation with you face to face. So, would today at noon or tomorrow at 5 work best for you?
How much? All right, so let me ask, how much you charge?
Also, a great question. That can be one of the first things that we talk about when we meet. So, will all decision makers be there tomorrow at 5?
Oh, that was good. That was slick right there. Yes, my wife will be around.
Perfect. I look forward to meeting you and seeing you then.
You're so pleasant. I could listen to you talk all day long. It's like you have me who's got this like gruff, like Illinois, New York, Florida
Oh, no, I
accent.
think you're very effective.
It was great. Like that was great. Like it's because as you know, I'm a big believer, and it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you were so pleasant to speak to, and I don't mean that just to be nice. I don't say that often. And you had your
Yeah.
script, and no matter which way I went, you just brought it right back to baseline. I came here, you bring there, blah 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 blah, and you didn't really like answer any of the questions, which wasn't bad. You more or less kind of bypassed them. And what I loved seeing was when you're like, what did I say? What are you gonna do differently? And you didn't be like, well, we do aerial photos and open houses because there's no value in that. And you
Mhm.
just came out and said, that's the first thing we'll discuss tomorrow. And then what I loved was you're like, I said something about the commission, and you're like, "Will all the decision makers be there when I come by tomorrow at 5 o'clock?" you're like, it's just like there's just nothing else going on here whatsoever. So no, that was great, and like I said, that was I could listen to you talk all day long. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know what? One of the things that I've learned from all the Vulcan people, um, stay on script, and we know more than they do, and we should be better at keeping them on task. And you're going to sell yourself better in person than you do on the phone. You just can use, not only the verbal cues, but being able to see someone is a really big deal. So I would all day long rather sit in front of someone and have a conversation with them. You're either going to know you want that listing or you don't, and you're going to know whether you can communicate effectively with that seller or sellers. Versus answering all these things on the phone, and then they try
Right,
and line us up together and see how we're different. Um, they're only going to let so many people into the house.
right.
So you have a better chance if you can just get in the door. And I made little hash marks every time I asked for the close and you didn't go there, and I hit 3. So um, it might have been more. I don't know. I was just kind of counting, like, golly.
And that was me
Sometimes it's
going
only
easy
one.
on that was me going easy on you right there. Moderate. I was going moderate.
Okay.
So when it comes to like your production or whatever, like what are you most proud of right now? I mean, what's like the one thing you're like this I'm proud of?
I think if you just never stop and you're consistent, then you will get the results that you need. So I'm proud of the fact that, when I'm scheduled, I know when I'm off. Like, I know that you tried to do this last Friday, and I said, it's my birthday and I'm not going to work on my birthday. And so I took it off, and I chose not to answer my phone that day. So I know when I'm working. I have a boundary in that sense, and I know what my numbers should be. And if I don't start to hit my numbers effectively, um, then I'm going to add days. But I think if you're consistent, you should be proud of what you do. Um, I think there's always, something new that we can learn from other people, whether they're new people on the Vulcan calls, whether they're, people like you who are throwing some extra scripts out there saying, try this. You can get really great ideas, but you have to personalize,
Yep.
make it your own, make it work for your business.
100%, 100%. So let me ask you this: a brand new agent comes, knocks on your door, and is like, Kelly, give me some advice. What's one piece of advice you're going to give this brand new, fresh off the exam agent?
Okay, so I actually have 16 mentees, so I get this all the time. And I tell them, take your phone, it's already your database, and start to just communicate with 5 of those people a day. Um, how many people actually do that? I don't know. They call me with the 911, hey, and I need to write a contract. So I know pretty quickly who's actually talking about real estate. If they're not willing to go and actually have a conversation, then they're not going to make it, and they will
Right.
be out of the business. So, I mean, with the dialer, we're able to create more conversations and more opportunities. You can actually take who's in your phone and who is every place else that you have just people randomly written down on a notebook or um, in a Gmail, that kind of thing, and stick them in Vulcan and dial that way and
Right.
hit your sphere of influence maybe once or twice a month with very little effort. So there are a number of things you can do, but I would say start with who you know.
Right.
Um, but you have to practice because you don't also want to,
I was waiting for that.
not know what to say to your own friends.
I was waiting. Like I said, you don't want to try out on your potential. You don't want to practice on your potential clients. That's the last place you want to practice. So, all right, this was awesome. This was awesome. Like I said, you've got like your phone voice is just second to none. I don't know if everybody's told you. It's amazing. It's an absolutely amazing voice you have. You're welcome. What is your final last words here for everybody in Vulcan 7 Nation here, if you will?
I think be consistent. So if you're going to dial 5 days, actually dial 5 days. If you've set it as a goal to dial for an hour, then actually do it. Um, don't be so concerned right off the bat. I've been doing this for a day. I haven't seen results. You haven't put the time in. So um, it takes time to get to where you need to be, but you have to be consistent with it. You can't just dial one day a month and then think, well, I didn't get anything from that system, because that's not a good way to approach it. So with anything, you have to put in effort. I work out every day. Um, I don't get to be stronger if I don't show up at the gym.
Right.
So that's a discipline. So I think we really have to be disciplined with our business, just like with everything else.
There we go. Well, Kelly, I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. This is great. You really, really gave some great information here. And Kelly, when someone has a referral in Palm
Mhm.
Beach Gardens, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Call me on the phone, or if it's during prospecting hours, I would say text me. It's 561-389-4107.
Got it. All right. Well, like I said, if you need anybody in Palm Beach Gardens, if you need, she's got plenty of role play partners. If you want another one, message her. By the way, she's amazing. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here and have an amazing rest of the day. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.